You know, it's because you all sitting up straight.
Everybody's sitting up straight. Welcome to the Meeple Syrup Show. It is episode 118. This is pre-PAX prep with Pro Power Pair. I think that's what I called it. I'm not sure. There's a whole lot of P's in there. But today we're going to be talking with Anthony Amato Jr. and Nicole, not Klein anymore.
Amato now.
Yeah, right? That's awesome. I think that was so cool. Even just reading about it, I felt like I was a part of it. The whole name change thing. That was great. And we're going to talk today about how to prep for some cons. They've just gone back from Metatopia and are just heading off to PAX Unplugged over the next couple of days. And then we're going to talk about how they work together as a couple to design analog tabletop board games and card games and other things. So that's what we're talking about today. We're going to have people answering questions or asking questions on the feed. So if you have a question, just put it into the live chat. We'll get it to Anthony and Nicole as we progress through the night. Okay, so we'll be here for a little bit. Sorry that Daryl is not here and Erica is not here. They are both either on their way or already in Dallas for BGG Con. And I won't, unfortunately, be getting to PAX Unplugged this year because of the whole strike situation. I know, right? But next year something. Oh, next year for sure, 100% Metatopia. I cannot not go. So
yes,
Metatopia is the
best con.
That'll be on my high on my list for next year. I will plan around that. All right. So without further ado, let's get the show started and let's chat with Nicole and Anthony. And Nicole, start us off. Tell us who you are, what you like to do, what's going on in your life right now, and all the good stuff about you.
Hi, I'm Nicole Amato. I finally just changed my name literally this week, even though we've been married for like 5 months. I'm a research analyst at a think tank in downtown Philadelphia. Right now we are like I feel like we're at the end of a really long marathon because we're finally getting to PAX Unplugged, which today I was saying felt like it was so far away. And now it's like on top of us.
Yeah, now you're borderline can't wait till it's over, but that's not really
I know,
true.
and it makes me really unhappy because I'm like, oh, I can't wait till it's done. I'm like, oh, I should be excited for it. So yeah, that's just been our lives for like the last couple of weeks is Metatopia and PAX.
Metatopia,
right. So just con after con after con after con after con.
I also officiate weddings on the side.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I had a wedding this past weekend that I officiated.
Oh, that's neat. I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
Do you wear the cardboard fortress hat when you?
I don't. I should.
You should. You totally should. Did you know? It was very funny. I saw somebody wearing a cardboard fortress hat one day. It was Tony Miller.
Yes,
like a couple years ago, and I was like, "What is that?" And only today, when I was looking at your Twitter, did I figure out that's what it was.
Yep. You made a bootleg one and brought it to
Origins one year, Gen Con or something. It was so funny. It's like, what is that you're wearing, Tony? And then I saw it today. I said, oh, that's what it is.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Nicole's also an editor.
Oh yeah, I'm also a freelance editor. I do freelance editing for basically whatever. I edit books, like book manuscripts, video games. I just edited a Twine game.
Oh, cool.
For the first time ever, yeah.
Was that hard with all like the branching?
It was really hard because I didn't do all the branches. So I just took one path, and then he had like a hard stop on how many hours he wanted me to edit. So I was like, I like made it to the end, and I was like, are there any paths that I missed that you want me to go down? So
okay.
And then we just had a meeting because he hasn't finished the game yet. So we met for like an hour on Skype to like discuss like where he wants to go with it and like how I felt it was going narratively, and I gave him some advice. So it was pretty cool. It was my first time doing that.
That's interesting. That must be really tough.
Yeah.
And you did a bunch of board games also.
Yeah, and I also edit board game rules.
Okay, good, because we need more people to edit rules. Rules are very important. I can edit other people's rules. Yes, I edit other people's rules. I just don't edit mine very well. So.
Oh my god, editing my rules, it's like I have like a nervous breakdown. Anthony's like, I think it should be this, and I'm like, that's just not right.
Yeah, my perspective is like, I don't care about grammar or spelling. It's all about like accuracy and getting the feeling across.
Right.
So I'll just be like, no, you can't say it that way.
You're gonna say, well, we could just make a diagram and show that.
There are so many times when I'm like, just draw this part.
Tell us about yourself, Anthony. What do you do?
I'm a freelance graphic designer and game dev, essentially, and a homemaker.
Excellent. And the cool thing about that, so if you're out there and you're running a Kickstarter or you're trying to publish a game or you're designing a game and you need some help, it's people like Nicole and Anthony who should be your go-tos for things like editing, for things like the graphic design. So a lot of times, a book editor, somebody who edits, normal books, regular books, actually doesn't have the requisite skill to edit a game rulebook because it's a different beast. Just like somebody whose main line of income is, ad copy for graphic design,
right?
Which is the vast majority of graphic designers out there are doing, more advertisement and stuff like that. They really don't understand the usability of, cards and boards and things like that.
Oh yeah.
So if you want somebody who, right out of the box, you don't have to tell them that, oh yeah, put everything in the top, left-hand corner on cards, or, I want my rules to have the first instance of where it's bolded and then never again. These are the people that, you want to look at. So Nicole, Anthony, they're kind of like this duo, the dynamic duo that can kind of make a lot of stuff happen for you. So yeah, right? Do you guys do like a package? Oh, Wonder Twin Powers activate. Do you guys
I did a talk recently at University of Arts and to the game arts program that they have starting up there, and I was like, if you want to do art and stuff in the gaming world, and obviously I'm from the perspective of board games, but I think this is true even for video games, you have to play the games, right? You have to not just play the game that you're hired to make art for. I mean, you have to be
you have to be literate in games.
You have to be literate in games and have a range of experience playing games. So the first step is always to just be playing games. You have to have an interest in it so that the love of it comes through. And then the second part is you have to be playing games so you're a member of the community as well to get the kind of jobs and stuff, right?
Right. I think there's a lot to that. I talk about that I'm more interested actually in UX and UI than I am in graphic design now.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because I mean, the basic graphic design skills are, it's not simple. Like, don't ever think graphic design is simple. But the next level of it, especially when you're talking about usability of something I'm actually holding in my hands and manipulating in several directions, tapping it, flipping it over, turning it back over, all those types of things for just a simple thing like a card, it has usability that isn't just, will my eye scan this pattern properly? That's one thing for sure.
It's that intersection of graphic design and industrial design, of graphic design and ergonomics, you know what I mean? And knowing that that's super important, and the whole like 99% invisible kind of aesthetic where like if you don't notice it, then it's working well. If it's in the way, then you didn't do it right.
That's a great analogy. So what were you guys doing at Metatopia?
We were running playtests for some prototypes. Mostly we ran expansions we're working on for Laser Riders. And then we have a tank game that we're working on that's a little bit of a tabletop war game kind of thing that we ran a test for.
It's called Tank Robbers.
It's called Tank Robbers.
Tank robbers? Like you're actually robbing while you're in a tank, or you're stealing other people's tanks?
You're stealing gold from...
You're robbing a city in a tank.
Yeah.
But the main reason you go to Metatopia is because it's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Can we curse?
Oh, I'm sorry. Can we curse?
Totally curse, yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm surprised he was the first one to curse and not me.
It's usually Nicole.
I'm usually the
curse way
cursor.
more than she does. It's amazing, and that's the whole like Eastern Seaboard community, and plus comes to that. And for playtesting, Metatopia is, I love Unpub. I love Unpub, but playtesting for me, Metatopia is the #1 convention in the world.
Great. So what's the difference in your mind, Nicole, between say Unpub and Metatopia?
So at Unpub, you just have like, you're like, okay, I have this table for this amount of time, and then hopefully people stop by and play my game. But at Metatopia, everything is scheduled. So they will call you on the phone and they'll be like, hey, how many games are you showing? How many tests do you want? How many tests do you want of each game? And they also do something called a high test. And the high test is where they only let game designers into that test. So like,
oh, okay.
So like at Unpub, you're getting a mishmash of players and designers, but at Metatopia, there's a lot of designers. And if you want only designers to play your game, they will limit your game to just designers.
Okay.
Yeah, I look at it as one has quality and one has quantity. Unpub pulls way more people, and it's just a way bigger space, and you have way more public that shows up to it. And even like the amount of other developers that you see there, there's just more of them. They come from further afield to come to the main Unpub.
That's true.
The one in Baltimore.
Yeah,
but at the same time, I probably get more useful playtests in at Metatopia, and I playtest more of other people's games at Metatopia because there's never a point at which I'm sitting at a table going, "What am I doing right now?" Right.
Right.
I'm either playtesting my game or I'm scheduled to be going to another thing, and that type of scheduling is super hard to do. So much props to Vinny and those guys at Double Exposure. You could not do that level of scheduling at an event as big as Unpub. So they both serve different purposes. I just hate sitting at a table going, I hope somebody comes and plays my game. Oh, I really want to go play that guy's game over there. But if I leave my table, that's when somebody will show up to play my game.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, definitely. So what do you guys think? How did you prepare differently between Metatopia, where you're going to be playtesting, where it's further away, versus PAX Unplugged, which is in your hometown, and you're not necessarily playtesting as much, but you're doing other stuff? How did you prepare differently?
The PAX stuff has been hard because, I mean, they're just such different animals, right? Like Metatopia, we had to do a lot of preparation in that we had to print a lot of stuff and put a lot of prototypes together and do a lot of cutting, and we had to travel. But for PAX, we didn't realize until about 2 months ago that we had to provide our own furniture. When they sent out like the exhibitor manual, they were like, "Oh, the booths don't include any furniture." And we were like, "Holy crap, where do we get furniture?" So
where did you get furniture?
We're just all bringing our own furniture.
Okay.
Which hasn't been
like your dining room chairs?
We have like 4 folding chairs that we're bringing, and then the other people in the co-op, a couple of them have like the long 6-foot tables, like the foldable tables, so they're bringing
banquet
them.
Table. Okay, yeah.
But I mean, if we wanted to rent them from the Reed Pop like vendor, it was like $80 for a table, and it was like $110 for a chair.
You could just go buy one.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The prices were literally like 10 times the cost of the chair if I just bought the chair and brought it in. So it was absolutely absurd.
So for those of you who don't know this, if you really want like folding chairs and folding tables, like really badly want some, and a convention has just finished in your town, like a really big major one where people fly in, vendors fly in, go look in the garbage after. No, I'm serious, because a lot of them
I know.
will go out to Costco the night before, buy them, and not take them back with them because they're flying. They can't take them back.
Yeah.
But it's cheaper to go buy and Uber back than it is to rent the tables from the actual facility.
Not to go off track here, but my favorite thing I found out recently is that at the big PAXs where all the video game devs are at, a lot of them don't bother to send their monitors and computers back. It costs too much to ship them back. So they actually just have auctions at the end of it and get rid of all these really high-end computers and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I need to get in on that. If I could get like whatever latest gaming rig they're showing off for like $200, like.
Fun fact: Media Molecule, who are from the UK, once bought a really, really nice sofa for their setup at PAX, and they liked it so much they shipped it back home.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny.
It was really funny. They were like, shipping it cost more than the couch.
Yeah, but they really liked it.
They really liked that couch.
Yeah. We have a question. Richard Durham asks, when you're at an Unpub setting, sitting at the table, how do you attract people to play?
One of the things that we have is we have a big foldable whiteboard that kind of sits, and Anthony basically sets up a menu on it. Where he's like, here are all the games we have to offer, and he writes a little thing about each of them so that people are. But I think that draws people in.
Signage helps. We bought early on when we made our first game. We bought like a $30 roll-up sign that had the game on it, and it was a great investment. I mean, $30, and we rode that through 3 years of conventions.
Yeah.
And it was all the signage we needed.
Which one was that for? Resistor or something?
Resistor,
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's surprisingly cheap because when you look up big table signs, they're like hundreds of dollars. But there's a that's called a Breeze banner. It costs like $15 for the banner itself, and then $15 for them to put the art on it. It's only about this tall. I can't show it on the screen.
like 2 feet tall, like something that you'd sit on the table.
Yeah. It's a table banner, and it's only like $30, and it, obviously you have to have art to do it, but it just adds that little bit of extra like pull because it looks like a more of a finished game. That's another thing we do is that a lot of our prototypes we overproduce so that they're more eye-catching at Unpubs and stuff. We can do that.
Anthony really puts great art on everything.
We can do that because we have an artist. If you don't have an artist, it's just not an option. I would say the biggest, it's always been said, like, don't be on your phone, don't cross your arms, don't look like you're bored and don't want people there. You can't harangue people into getting you can't be like, oh, come play the game, come play the game.
It can be hard.
But if you see someone who's just kind of looking around, you could be like, hey, do you want to hear about this?
Right.
I don't have a solution because we do spend a lot of time sitting and doing that. And the rough part for me, what's really particularly frustrating is if I see other devs that I'm friends with who are also having the same problem at the same time, I either want them to come to me and play my game, or I want to go to them and play their game, and we're both stuck in a situation where we can't do that.
You guys are both like, no, but I can't, and yes, that I want to,
right?
No, but I can't.
And even at my mini Unpubs, lots of times I've been like, oh, well, I'm not doing anything now, so I'm going to go play this guy's game. The minute I walk over and he starts the rules up, somebody comes and is interested in my game, and I have to bail, and that's the worst.
yeah, it is the worst.
So do you think that at Unpub, Richard's asking a follow-up, that at Unpub, he asks, in principle, you need to look attentive and have an attractive presentation or theme to show off? Is that the answer you think?
I think those things help.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't like Anthony was saying, I don't think there's a set answer. I mean,
there's no absolute solution.
Yeah, and that's another thing that's great about Metatopia, because when you're at Metatopia, even if you don't have enough people signed up to play your slot, like the people who run it are actively looking for people who don't have anything to do to fill it in for you. Whereas that kind of thing doesn't happen at Unpub.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think another thing to remember is that in a situation like Unpub, it's all community driven. So even if you intended to come and show your game, if there's not enough people to play your game, I think you're beholden to the community in general to go play other people's games. Just because you're a game developer at one of these situations doesn't mean you're not also a player, and you should do the most to give back.
Yeah, when we do an Unpub mini, like whatever slot we're in, we make sure that we stay for the other slot as well, because we want to like play test other people's games, and you
gotta check out the competition. No, I'm kidding. You have to give back, right? I think it's important to give back, because they've probably helped you be successful in some way, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're super grateful to our whole community.
Mm-hmm. Tell me about your community in Philadelphia. You said that you have quite an active gaming development and board gaming development community.
Yeah, it's called Game Makers Guild Philadelphia. We meet twice a month, so we meet second Wednesday in the city, and then we meet on the fourth Wednesday outside of the city. That one, the O'Neills run. Chris O'Neill and Heather O'Neill run that one.
Oh, right, yes.
So it's pretty good. We have I would say we probably have about 16 people come to the one in the city, and it's not always the same people, and it's great because we usually have enough time for everybody to be able to show the games that they brought, and it's pretty good.
We usually, I think on average, have about 5 games to play. And we split it up, and we try to make, we try to make a point to kind of give it that structure of like, all right, from this time to this time, we're going to play one game, and you're going to have this much time for feedback, and then we're going to move on, and everybody's going to switch over to another game, so everybody gets their playthrough.
And so nobody's like bored sitting around.
Mm-hmm.
We just constantly have to reiterate that concept of, don't come and show your game and then leave.
Yeah, which is really hard.
You got to come, and if you show your game first, you got to play another game after that. And if we really don't want you to do that at all, we want you to show up, play some games, then show your game. Because it's got to be a reciprocal environment.
Definitely. Yeah, I usually follow the 4-to-1 rule. Mm-hmm. That I'll play one of my games, and I'll play 4 other games.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, otherwise they'd be playing my games all night long. It'd be
right.
Right. Let's. We have time. We can spread that love around. What about so? When you go to an Unpub versus Metatopia, are you preparing different things? Are you bringing more sell sheets to an unpub, because that's really sort of, so how I view unpub typically is I view unpub as, yeah, this is sort of the last thing before you're going to Kickstarter or something like that if you're a self-publisher, just to give it that final kind of push into the public, get the public have a little buzz grow around it, versus Metatopia, which is more like a development type thing. So are you preparing differently? Are you bringing different materials? Do you have different questions in mind to be answered for your playtests?
I understand the approach you said, but ours, I think, is the opposite of that.
Okay.
I don't think of an unpub as a final step towards going towards a publisher, because I think personally we never know if we're going to bring a game to a publisher, and we never really have a distinct point at which we say, okay, this is ready to be showing to a publisher, let's switch over to that mode. That said, we're really bad at putting together sell sheets and contacting publishers, so this is not great advice for me. I'm just saying how we work. Laser Riders got in essence picked up at the last unpub,
at 2016 unpub.
2016 unpub. So it is a place to meet publishers, but our approach to unpub has generally just been to bring everything we're working on that functions and fit as much of it on the table as we can and see what people are interested in.
Yeah.
So I guess we would be looking at it not just in a playtesting the game as much as seeing if the game is an exciting idea to people walking around. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like I'm testing like how catchy is it? You know what I mean? Does it which of these, like last time we went, we put up like 6 games on a whiteboard.
A menu. That was our menu.
And and I just wanted to see how many people asked to play this versus this versus this.
Oh,
and that would
did you track those stats?
I mean, informally. I don't write them down, but
I wrote it down. But
did you write it down?
I don't know if I
I didn't look at it.
Maybe. I mean, I went to school for that, so I'm like, data, delicious.
Yeah, right.
And it's tough too, because if you have people
Did you make a graph?
we need lots of
you need
Excel.
a histogram or something, then Anthony could draw it, make a graphic out of it. It'd be awesome.
Be right back, making infographic.
It's tough because if you tell people you have a 5-minute game and you have an hour game, obviously the 5-minute game is going to get a lot more draw. But that doesn't mean the hour game isn't relevant.
Right.
But that's part of it,
Yeah, for sure. And now that you're going to PAX Unplugged, that's like a new thing. Like, we don't know what to expect. What do you hope to get out of PAX Unplugged? What's the difference between a PAX Unplugged and a regular PAX event for you guys?
So a regular PAX event, like I don't know if you've been to PAX West or PAX East.
Not any of them yet.
So PAX East, the board games are very integrated into the video game section, but at PAX West, like board games and video games are in totally separate areas. So I feel like
because of the way they set the buildings up.
Yeah, it's a building thing. Yeah, but like I feel like PAX Unplugged. I don't know.
Yeah, we have a lot of questions as to how this is going to go down.
So many questions. Yeah, like I'm nervous, but I'm excited. I think it's going to be well attended. I think that they got a lot of good. I think they got a lot of good people to speak on panels, and I feel like there's a big draw there. But I'm nervous.
I'm really interested because PAX runs on video games generally. And video games are a whole different magnitude of money involved in video games. I mean, multiple tiers higher than board games. As big as board games is right now, it's still, I mean, a booth at PAX East might be as much as a video game would ever gets like made, spent, or not even a huge game.
Right.
So I'm really interested to see what PAX, which I think is usually a bigger production, does with the lower scale of board games in general. And I'm also super interested to see what kind of pull Philly and how Philly deals with this kind of thing, because I don't consider Philadelphia to be a very good place for conventions generally.
There's going to be the Philly Marathon this weekend. Like
what?
Like, why didn't anyone say like, hey, there's a convention here?
I mean, I'm super happy it's in Philly because
that's how I feel, son.
Now I don't have to eat really terrible food from other cities, but I just don't know what it's going to be like. I mean,
oh, come on. What terrible food are you talking about?
Everywhere that isn't Philadelphia.
Are you Philadelphia born and bred?
I'm actually from California.
He was born in California.
Oh, okay.
He really hates the food in. Okay, so Boston, Anthony hates the food in Boston. Dallas, we went to Dallas. We're vegetarians.
Oh yeah, that's all like barbecue.
Done.
Yeah, like we tried to eat in Dallas. We ordered the only thing without meat on it on the menu at this place we went to.
And it had meat.
It came out with like meat
covered in chili,
like meat sludge, like poured on top of it.
Oh my god, really?
We were like, how could you leave that off of the menu?
We were like, hi, we didn't think we had to tell you this, but we're a vegetarian. And they were like, oh.
Oh, you guys aren't allowed in this province.
Yeah, they were like, get out of our state.
Right. That's so funny. So
yeah, Philly has really good food, so I'm happy to be able to step outside of the convention, go to a place I know in Chinatown, and eat really amazing vegetarian food.
What about like Ohio when we go to like Origins?
Columbus? I mean, there's a Bear Burger.
We've only been to Origins once.
Oh, okay, because I think Columbus actually is pretty foodie, relatively speaking.
It's okay. I wasn't starving and miserable.
Yes. Pardon me, you weren't miserable.
Yeah, Gen Con, Pata Chow is like. Have you been to Gen Con?
Oh yeah.
Pata Chow.
Yeah.
For breakfast.
Yeah.
That's like the best place.
Okay.
Gen Con's okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
This guy's really tough. He's a tough sell.
He is. He's like some kind of like food critic or something.
He's a little bit of a foodie.
I'm picky.
Yeah, that's okay. It's all right to be picky. We have some other questions from our audience. Sir Bob asks, would you design or show different games for your PAX demo versus an Unpub demo? What do you think?
That's really tough because at PAX we're usually with publishers.
Mm-hmm.
So like
nowadays.
Currently, yeah. But before we would, like at Tabletop Co-op, we will show games that we would show in Unpub, but usually it's games that are a little bit more polished, I feel like. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I wouldn't the only thing I would say is I wouldn't put a game on the table at PAX that I didn't think was going to make it to the end of the game. Does that, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like I wouldn't put a game down that might fall apart in the middle because there was some rules thing I didn't figure out yet.
Right. So really, it's less of a testing grounds, more of a showings area.
I mean, I would say there's a certain hour after which anything goes.
I like that. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, when we started out with our first game, we went to all the PAXs and just put it on tables and back rooms and stuff and different areas. Yeah,
our biggest Resistor fans are still the guys who played the first copy on index cards at PAX, who just saw us putting a prototype on the table and wanted to play it.
Yeah, I mean, that was literally like I was like, hey, we should take some time to do this. And we went to an area where there's some open tables and I saw these guys nearby and I was like, hey, do you want to try our prototype? And that's kind of how everything went off.
It was awesome.
So that's totally doable. If I've bought table space at a booth, then I'm probably going to try to show something that I'm more interested to see, again, to see what the public's reaction is to it as a more finished product. Although I'm just always testing. Until it's printed, I'm always testing it.
Right.
So.
That's so cute.
Sometimes even after printing.
Sentences. Oh, so cute. Which brings us to our next topic. So we're going to move a little bit on from the whole PAX and Metatopia and Unpub and such, and get to the idea that we invited you two specifically on to show or to talk about how do we design with our significant others involved, and we can talk about some other power couples, like we have Inca and Marcus Brand, we have Josh and Helena Capel, we have you guys, we have the team that didn't they just get married? I think they just got married at Daily Magic Games. Yeah, we have lots of people who are working with their significant others.
The Zinsleys.
Tabletop space. Yeah, the Zinsleys.
The O'Neills.
And the O'Neills.
Yeah.
O'Neills, yeah. And even like I was talking before off air, Tiffany and Greg from Broken Token. So
right.
Lots and lots of couples in the tabletop industry working together to make it like almost like a little family business. And it's really kind of cool. So why do you think that happens in tabletop specifically? Well, what got you guys doing it? What got you guys designing together?
So I was involved in the video game community here, and we would go to their events, and they have game jams. Like they have monthly game jams, and finally one month we were like, we can't make video games, but we should make a board game. Like fuck it, we're gonna do it.
Right.
And that was how we made Resistor, and we won the game jam, and people like really, really loved Resistor, and we were like, we could do this.
Right.
Yeah, and then the more we saw that people liked it, the more we wanted to, take it to the next step, to the next step, to the next step, and that's how we got into the community, and everything followed from there.
Yeah.
I think the reason that maybe you see more power couples in board games than other places, and I hope this doesn't sound demeaning, is that I think it's the board game design is a less specific skill focus. You don't have to be a coder or a programmer or a lawyer. It doesn't take one specific high degree of knowledge that you have to have training in to become a board game dev, as opposed to a video game dev or something else like that.
Yeah, it's not like we started a band in the garage where I'm like, Anthony, you really got to learn the bass.
Right.
You could totally do that, and I would totally listen.
Yes.
I think that'd be awesome.
So I think the skill level to get in is really low. You don't have to have any particular knowledge. You just have to have an interest, and then you gain the knowledge as you go. So that would allow both sides of the couple to kind of do it without one person being wildly better at it than the other one. And I think the other part is that it's definitely something you can do part-time, right? So if both people are working, it's a thing they can work on together that doesn't take away from their main careers.
Right. So it can be that side hustle.
Yeah.
And it's also it is something you can focus on together. It can be a meaningful thing to do as a hobby, right? Like some couples like to garden. I don't know who those guys are, but they do. I've heard about them. Or
Right.
They
And
like to go, running or jogging. What's that? I don't know.
and you can both learn it as you go.
Yeah.
Right? Like if we were making a video game, one of us would have to learn to code, and the other one would have to learn how to do the pixel art or something. You'd have to split up the division of labor is much more important.
So out of the two of you, who would learn how to code? What do you think?
Me. Definitely me.
Yeah, definitely you. But luckily you're not doing that, so you're bringing great games to the table in tabletop land. Who comes up with the ideas between the two of you? Is it a joint thing? Is it, Anthony has an idea and bounces it off you, Nicole, and then you kind of work that way? Or does it sort of come to you guys simultaneously? You wake up one morning, lovingly look into each other's eyes and say, surfing on lasers in space simultaneously. Is that what happens? What happens?
It's our pillow talk.
Right?
It's kind of been both. We've come up with things together. Anthony's come up with stuff on his own. I've come up with stuff on my own. And we've both helped each other get through, the bumpy parts of everything. Or it's been like Laser Riders where Anthony's like, hey, I'm just going to put this on the table. Boom. And I'm like, what? How?
Where did that come from?
Where did that come from?
Where did that come from?
Anthony actually started Laser Riders on cards. He had this idea that he wanted to make a game that he could sell through the Game Crafter, and he made the game with cards. And the cards had arrows on the back, and you would connect the arrows to make a line.
It's essentially exactly like that Tokyo Drift game that Tagmeyer put out.
Nitro Drift.
Nitro Drift, yeah. It was essentially the same kind of idea. And we showed it unplugged. Unplugged. We showed it at Unplugged and it didn't work, and then we put it away for a year and came back to it.
Okay.
And then right before 2016 Unplugged, Anthony was like, I think I'm going to remake Laser Riders with X-Wing pieces.
That's right. Yes, I remember hearing this story at some point.
Yeah. Okay. But that's an example of a game that, I basically came up with on my own, separate from her, and then when I pulled it out, we then bounced it off each other until we finalized it.
Would you say that you guys, as a team, are you theme first or mechanic first? What do you think?
I think we've done both.
Yeah.
I fall towards the mechanic first part of it, but I don't think that being 100% one or the other ever works. I think you can't make a good game that's just mechanics and then slap a theme on it, nor can you do it the other way.
Yeah, you can't commit to one or the other.
Because I come up with really cool themes all day long, but until I have a mechanic that's exciting for it, I don't even worry about that theme. I think that if you start with mechanics, before you get done those mechanics, before you even have done those mechanics, you have to start thinking about the theme to inform those mechanics and why those decisions are getting made. And the same goes the other way. If you have a really good theme, before you finish that theme and fleshing out all the narrative of it, you have to figure out what are the mechanics that are going to express this. So I always say, if you're doing mechanics first, then 50% of the way through doing the mechanics, you better be start thinking of a theme, and the same way the other way.
So let's work through World of Tanks, or not World of Tanks. That's the actual game. Tank Robbers, is that what it's going to be called?
Yeah,
That's the working title. Okay, so let's work through that. Who came up with the initial idea?
Anthony.
Tank Robbers. Okay, Anthony, was it mechanics or theme?
I would say that started as mechanics.
And what are the core mechanics, if you don't mind sharing?
Sure. I actually have it right here.
Here you go. Here you go, sir.
So Tank Robbers started out me and Chris O'Neill from level 9.
Ninth level.
9th level. I always do that.
Well, because we know level 99 and 9th level.
Yeah, I always mix them up.
And we're always like, wait, what?
I think it started out as...
Does Chris O'Neill also wear a hat all the time? That's how you should remember it. Brad always wears a hat. Well, not always.
That's true. He does.
That's true. That's true.
And a good blazer.
Yes.
So we started out with sort of making a card, super simple. I think it was for a Tagmire thing, like a 9-card game.
Yeah.
But he made the whole thing on one card.
To represent, each player had one card.
Each player had one card. Right. That's right.
To represent Combat, the old Atari game.
Okay. Yeah.
So we had this whole drive system where you go 1, 2, 3 and then make motions.
Oh yeah, you would like put your arms up or put your arms out, and that would be like the thing that your tank would do would be dependent on how you held your arms up.
Oh, hey, that's great, because it's like like forwards, backwards, left turn, right turn. That
right. It was like you'd go like this, like you're holding the controls, and you go
like your treads
forward.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So it was a really cool idea, and I liked it a lot. And I had been thinking like, I'd like to make a game about tanks because I really like tabletop war games, but I feel like they're super hard to get into, which is the same thing that inspired Laser Riders.
Oh, really? Because you kind of X-Wing, right?
Yeah, X-Wing. One of my favorite games is called Battlefleet Gothic, or any of those old.
One of my favorite games is also called Battlefleet Gothic.
What's that?
One of my favorite games is also called Battlefleet Gothic.
Why do you live in Canada? Move here.
Come play it with me. I have 3 fleets.
Oh, do you? I don't know. I don't know where all my stuff is. My kids got at it. All my Man-O-War stuff and all my. Oh yeah, it's funny. But they now have. So Ethan, I spent like a bunch of money, and he now has a whole Tau army that he can play with himself. And Eli has a Necron army. He can play with that, and then they can leave my stuff alone. That's
awesome.
That's what I would enjoy.
So I love those old games. Man-O-War is another good one, and the old Space Fleet I particularly like.
Yes.
And so I really like those games, and the best part of those games to me is the movement of them.
Yeah. Because that's critical.
I don't like 40K and skirmish games where you can just kind of step back and forward and do a bunch of stuff like that. I like games where you have predictive movement and moving. I can say, oh, he's facing this way, so you can only move these directions and stuff like that. So that's what inspired Laser Riders, and that's also what I wanted to add to that a little bit for a tank game. So now we have these little tanks I made, and I was like, oh, it'd be neat if we did a double thing, and now it has a turret on it, right?
Oh, that's so cute.
They're really cool.
They are really cool.
And then I wanted to revisit the idea that everything was cards, because I like to start with a restriction, right? So my restriction was I want this all to fit in a small box or be printable by the game crafter. I think those are fun restrictions. And then if I break out of them later, that's fine, but working within that to start is a good idea. And so my movement mechanic is that you put the card in front of it, and then you put the tank where it's shown on the card, and then you remove the card.
Yeah, there's like a bunch of like, there's like...
like hard left, hard right, forward, slow.
And so I also wanted to, try out programming games, but in a way that's super light. So this game, you program 2 cards in on a round and stuff like that.
That's less dickish than like Robo Rally.
Right, so you're never like, oh, I got screwed on the first card, and now my next 4 cards, I just have to watch this thing play out.
Right.
I just have to keep going into this wall right here.
So in the beginning, that was all kind of mechanics of let's make. I mean, there's a theme there. The theme was tank, but then after that, it was all just how do we do tank movement in a way that's fun. And then at some point during that, I was like, I came across a mechanical problem. The mechanical problem was I don't want this to have player elimination, but it's a game about tanks shooting each other.
Right.
So how do I cross that bridge? And that's when I had to go, well, what else could be happening here? What is the theme? And once I got to that, I went back into, you know, things I like in the past. I really like a movie called Kelly's Heroes.
He accessed his mental database.
I accessed my mental database. I really like this movie Kelly's Heroes, and in Kelly's Heroes, it's a movie about tanks, but they're really not blowing each other up. They're trying to break into and steal gold from a vault during World War II. So it's like, oh, okay. Now I have a theme to make some of this stuff, victory conditions make sense and everything.
Right. So how did Nicole get involved in this whole thing?
I've mostly just like done a lot of testing, and I helped with the rules. Like I haven't done a lot with tanks, except, you know, if Anthony has questions, like we'll be in the middle of doing something and Anthony will be like, Nicole, what if in tanks we did this?
See, that's so nice, because see, I do that with my wife and she like goes, what about in Rock, Paper, Wizards, Carrie? If we did this hand signal, what would we do? I don't know.
So you know, we play it, and then she knows it enough that I can bounce ideas off her and get a feeling back, right? Like this, she'll say like, oh, this makes that, I feel like that would make it feel slow or grindy or you know, stuff like that.
So in that case, when most of the heavy lifting has been done already by Anthony, is that going to be an Anthony game, or is it still going to be an Anthony Nicole game? Or
we've talked about that, because I feel like, you know, if Anthony did all the work, it should be an Anthony game. But like, so what you were saying earlier about like shared responsibilities and shared labor in the business, like so much of what I do is like I balance our money and I book all the flights and I do all the PR stuff, and it's like, because of all that stuff, Anthony's like feels like both of our names should be on everything. Absolutely.
The game, you know, you can make the best game in the world in your basement, but if you don't get it out of the basement, then it doesn't matter.
So Nicole helps get it out of the basement.
Nicole does all the other stuff that makes it possible currently. Which isn't to say she doesn't work on the games also. She definitely works on the games also. It's just, if I do the heavy lifting on the game, then that makes up for the fact that I'm not doing anything to help really promotion or like set up con trips or stuff like that.
Right. And I think that's okay. I mean, like there's got to be that balance between that. And obviously you guys go to cons together, you're running play tests together, you're doing all that kind of stuff, and you're bouncing ideas off each other when it comes to things like balance and, you know, is this too grindy? Is this too powerful? Is that card OP? You know,
right.
I think it's the nature of a relationship, right? It's going to flow in between. And some of the times you're going to have a lot of work at the front end and less work at the back end. And that's when it switches. But the workload's always kind of at a certain level.
Yeah.
And then you kind of have strengths in different areas. And I think that's, you know, you guys complete each other, right?
The hard, I mean, what's funny is like the hardest questions Anthony asks me, like if he asks me like balance questions, like we'll talk through it, or like feeling questions, we'll talk through it. But like sometimes he'll be like, what do you think of this color? And he'll show me like a color and I'm like, I don't like that. And he'll be like, why not? Or he'll be like, what about this art? Or like, you know what I mean? Like, what can I draw to represent this? Like, and it's tough because I'm not a visual person. So sometimes I have a hard time, but sometimes he's just relying on my initial reaction to be like, okay, like, should I, like, if he wants to pursue it or not, he'll be like, what's Nicole, the look on Nicole's face right now when she's looking at this?
Well, and a lot of times I'll be like, I see this thing, but I wonder if somebody who isn't like a trained artist will see it. Right. Nicole, what do you think of this picture? And if she doesn't say the thing that I'm looking for, then she didn't notice it.
Right.
And that's a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, that's depending on it really depends on how much it bothers me if it's a good thing.
Right.
And the other thing is she'll, you know, if you're not like, I don't know how it is in other industries, but in the art world, like you can't just say I don't like something. You have to say like, I don't like it because of this. You have to give meaningful critique.
Yeah, he's training me to do that.
So it's really, and I think that's super important in games as well. Like whether or not you like it is important, but what's more important is you being able to tell why you don't like it.
Right. The rationale.
Right. So a lot of times I'll say like, "What do you think about this color?" And she'll go, "I don't know. I don't like it." And I'll be like, "Okay, why? Why don't you like it? What is the thing about it that you don't like?"
And he'll also be like, "What do you think about these 11 fonts?" What'd you say?
It's just like data, though. It's just like data. Like, why do you not follow? Why do you not accept this as a reasonable, outcome? Is this evidence based, right? And so then you go down to your p-values and all that kind of same stuff. Just your critique is different, right? It's based on other things that like color theory and space concepts and stuff that I don't know anything about. But yeah,
like he'll be like, I mean, I'll notice it if it's like the kerning is off in like if like the words have like the wrong amount of space between them, because from editing so much, I'm like hyper aware of that. Like I'll be like, you have too many spaces between these letters.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times she's yelled at me about colons, and I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care what they mean. If it's that big a deal, just don't even use them.
That should be a semicolon.
I have no idea.
I have utmost respect for people who use the semicolon properly. It's a skill.
Yeah.
Or we'll be reading something and it'll be like, are we writing this in the first person or the third person or second person or third person?
Right. And you know what? The funny thing is, like, as hard as game design is, I find rules writing the actual hardest part. And so you're right. She is doing tons of heavy lifting if she's writing the rules, right?
I mean, I definitely help with writing the rules. I mean,
we both write the rules.
We both write the rules, like, because Anthony knows what his vision is, especially for like tank robbers.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll help him like format it and figure out what goes where and like edit it for grammar and spelling and stuff. But like, and I'll tell him like, hey, like you were saying earlier, like I'll be like, hey, I think this needs a diagram, or I think this would be better explained with an image, because I don't think that our words are going to work for this one.
It's definitely where we fight the most.
Oh my God.
It's where we overlap the most, so it's definitely where we fight the most.
Yes, 100%.
That's interesting. So when you don't fight, it's when you have, you respect the other person's skill in that area. Not saying that you don't respect each other when you're rule writing, but when you both have strong feelings and you both have the rationale to back up your feelings from different fields, that's when you guys are going to come to a little bit of a loggerhead. I see.
Yeah, writing rules is the hardest part.
And we have different approaches to writing the rules also. Like you write like she writes like poetry and like I don't know what the term for it is. Write it yourself, right?
Oh yeah.
Like kind of emotive narrative writing.
Yeah.
And I don't write at all. I try not to write ever. But when I look at rules, I'm looking at them as a manual, like how to build a cabinet, right? So
like an IKEA.
Like IKEA.
Right.
Yeah.
So she'll write in that way, and then I'll be like, no, none of this matters. We need bullet points and step 1, 2, 3, and we're gonna put that in a sidebar, and we're gonna,
And I'm gonna lay it out like this in InDesign or whatever.
Yeah, sometimes I'll be like, let's just write this like we're writing a program. So it says like if then.
Right.
And then we get to the end of it and it's like, this is cold. Like this needs to be written like a human being would write it.
And then Anthony's like, dear human wife, please inject humanity into these words.
That's why I get Josh to write the rules. It's exactly it. So I write the rules like I'm a robot, because that's how I write. And I write the rules very robotically, and then I hand them off to other people. But the funny thing is I can do it the other way. So if somebody hands me their rules, I can totally unrobotize their rules, but I can't do that for my own. Too close.
Because you know all the things that might go wrong if you're not super precise.
Yeah.
Right.
And sometimes I hate that. Oh.
I've asked this question all the time. I'm like, I asked that at one of the first Gen Cons we went to, where we actually went to a bunch of panels. I forget who it was who was doing a panel on writing rules, and I was like, how stupid do you treat the reader?
Yeah.
Right? Like how much of a moron do you treat the reader? Like, do you tell them how to hold the card? Like, do you tell them how to? Yeah,
with Resistor, we legitimately lost our
all
minds.
the cards and put them in your hand, face towards you.
Right, like what's the limit of like?
Like you wouldn't believe how many people were like, I'm like, okay, now you discard a card, and they're like, where? And I'm like, literally anywhere you want to on the table.
Doesn't matter. It's discarded.
Like, you can throw it in the garbage.
Does it go to your graveyard? Is it face up or face down?
Like, there's no board in the game. We can't put a place on the table for you to put your cards away. Just put them in a pile to somewhere over there. But it was one of those questions that was like, this didn't seem to me need to be answered, because if you read the whole rules,
really did. It really did.
Apparently it did.
And it's funny because so there's a whole series that I can't remember who did it, but he did it at Metatopia for a couple of years. It was like, you know, something about, you know, not treating your players like they're stupid.
Right.
So having some respect for them and their intelligence, but also how do you do that and still get your point across? I think that's the fine line, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And so I think really you guys have a great combination where you can write like a robot and then humanize it later to make sure all the, you know, the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. And then you have that flavor and the diagrams. And that's what makes a good rule book in the end. It's something that you can use in the 3 different ways. You can use to learn it, you can use it to remember it, and you can use it to reference later to, you know, find out the loopholes when there's edge cases. That's really the use of a rule book.
Yeah.
But if it's not digestible and it's not something that you can, you know, have a oh, I hate the word flow with writing, but you know what I mean. That really helps people pick up the knowledge from the book. But the book's knowledge should be very point form, or not very point form, but it's sometimes easier to read, digest individual points. It's easier to find them on the page visually.
Right.
So there's a lot of stuff from, you know, layout and graphic design, but then also from a writing side. So you guys have a great combination to make sure that everything's done equally. So it's good that you fight. It's funny, but I talked to, like, Jay and I, we don't fight tons, but we fight enough, and Jesse and I do as well. And it's not really fighting; it's more like sharpening our swords on each other's whetstones, right? Like I really need to justify myself to you, and if it was just me designing, I wouldn't need to justify myself to anybody, and it would end up probably crappier because of that, right? But because you guys are working as a couple and you have respect for each other and each other's levels of skills and things, that you're going to say, no, really, you know, Anthony, I think it should be written this way. And Anthony's going to say, well, I really think it should be written this way. In the end, after, you know, 5-10 minutes of this discussion, you'll probably find a way that both are important or something like that.
One of the things that
one will win out in one
after
way.
we stop talking to each other for about a half hour,
Yeah.
and maybe apologize after that.
That's okay. It happens.
I also like, one of the things that I like to do sometimes is I'll like write the sentence out as Anthony wants it, and then I'll just highlight it and put a comment and be like, this was how I wanted to say it. So that way maybe later, like, if we do need to like change it, because I'm gonna forget what I said.
Yeah.
So I think that that's one of the good things about both Microsoft Word and Google Docs is that you can just pepper it with comments that nobody else is ever gonna see.
Yeah.
That is a great feature. We use that lots and lots. So tell me a little bit about Cardboard Fortress. What is it? What's it gonna be? What was it? And what do you hope it's gonna be in the future?
Oh, I just wanted to say, actually, before we move on, I'm not saying that our readers of our rules are stupid. I'm just saying,
I know he was gonna
how
say that.
granular do our rules need to be? That's all.
Yeah. I know.
Nobody who's playing these games is stupid. Okay, what was the question? Something about Cardboard Fortress?
Yeah. So what is Cardboard Fortress, and what do you guys hope to accomplish with Cardboard Fortress as a thing?
Cardboard Fortress is just the company name for the two of us. We want to make games, and we're not really worried about if they're published by other people or ourselves. We just want to make a game that we like, and then try to make it have the biggest splash on the market that we can.
When we made Resistor, we assumed that we were gonna have to kickstart it. We didn't think that. We thought that as brand new designers that nobody would be interested in it. We didn't even try to talk to publishers, and we, like, you know, got a lawyer, had a lawyer help us set up an LLC, got an accountant, like, did everything that we felt like we were supposed to do, and then we ran a Kickstarter, and then a week into the Kickstarter for Resistor, Level 99 approached us to publish it. So
Yeah.
we've definitely kept our, like, we definitely want to keep our company name, and we definitely like our company. And in case we ever do, I mean, we're not we're not under the assumption that all of our games are going to be so good that a publisher is going to publish them. So we definitely think that keeping our company name is important because there are games that we're probably going to self-publish.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that makes sense.
Assume we will at some point. And it's just simpler to say that we're Cardboard Fortress Games as opposed to, at that point, saying Nicole Klein and Anthony Amato on everything.
Mm-hmm.
Now we could just say the Amatos.
Right? You totally could.
I could say the Amatos.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think it's more catchy. I don't know. We've had people tell us, like, you know, if what you're going to do is have games published through other companies, then you should go by your name, not your company name, so that you have name recognition.
Mm-hmm.
And they're probably right.
We do a little bit of both.
But I like having a company name, and since we're always open to having to put our games out ourselves, I'd rather have fans of Cardboard Fortress games than fans of me or her individually, you know, or anything like that.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And we have a cute logo.
Yeah. You do. Do you guys make a new hat every con, or like is this like a con?
When we started out, we actually made a whole bunch of hats all the time. We would I think the first couple PAXs that we went to when we were in the Mega Booth, we would make like 6 or 7.
If you could beat us at Resistor, you would get one.
And if you beat us at our game, you would get one. And that's still a rule. If you beat us at our game, we'll give you our hat. But we don't bring as many anymore because people don't offer up the challenge.
And also, someone stole a bunch of them at
someone
here.
We don't know if someone stole them or they just threw them away because they thought they were empty boxes.
Or they used them to pack things.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. But no, I don't make them like I used to. Make a bunch of them. We had for a while we made a whole bunch, and then we were like, screw it, let's just make one for each of us, and then we'll wear it and get it signed by.
Yeah, we got them signed.
Yeah, I noticed that. That's very cool.
We get them signed by people we like nerdcore rappers and stuff.
Yeah, MC Frontalat and Megaran and Brennel Floss signed them. So then we were like, we're not giving these up.
No, of course not. Those are your own personal hats. There you go.
They also got sweaty and kind of gross, so then we made new ones.
Yeah, they got a little
cardboard, right?
Yeah.
The biggest takeaway from the hats was everybody always asks what the hats are for, which is what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, right?
And then we say, oh, it's for our company. We make games. This is our name. Blah, 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 blah.
And they're like, oh, is that a game? Is your hat a game?
But the big part is they always ask, is that part of a game?
It should be, like, totally.
It really should be.
It should be.
Yeah, it's like, it always reminds me of Metal Gear Solid. So.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we get that too.
Yeah.
I want to make a social deduction game where everybody gets a hat, and then your secret role is in your hat. So to find it out, you have to like tip your hat to somebody.
Oh, hat tip. That's awesome.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Plus, it's like a table presence thing. Like any game where you have to wear something goofy, like
right.
People see it and they go, "Oh, what's that?"
Yeah, especially because it has little eyes on it. I like the little eyes.
Yeah.
Before we go, we're almost done. Wow. Can you tell me about what was it like to work on Centipede? What was it like to work with John Boy? John's fun. So, but what was it like to work on Centipede specifically? Like an iconic video game, translating that into tabletop form. What was that like?
It was hard.
Yeah, I'd say it was weird because we hadn't really done anything for hire before, right?
Right.
We hadn't been asked to do anything. Everything we had done, we had just made it up ourselves and then saw what happened. This is the first one that somebody said, hey, do you want to do this thing? Can you make a game for this purpose? So that was a real interesting change of pace for us.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think was the biggest challenge of working for hire?
The time frame.
Yeah.
Okay. So all the deadlines? I
mean, the game was out less than a year after they asked us to make it.
Mm-hmm.
The game was on store shelves.
Yeah.
Which for us was
that's really fast.
Was pretty quick.
Yeah.
But it felt particularly fast because it was really informal to begin with, and then got super serious all of a sudden at the last minute. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I
so it was just sort of like, hey, do you want to explore this space and sort of maybe work on this game, and like we'll work on it together with John, and then
and then it was like, and then it was like, hey, we need a component list by Wednesday, and we were like,
yeah, and we were like, I don't even know if this really works yet, or we might completely change what We
were like, a component list for what?
Because we didn't really have a deadline until the deadline was there.
Yeah.
Right.
And they were like, here's the box art. And Anthony showed me the box art. And I was like, I like disassociated because I was like, cool, where did you find that centipede art? And he's like, this is the art for our game.
Right.
And I was like, stop it.
Right. They already have art. Now we actually have to make this game. Like, we can't bail now.
Yeah, like we need to finish. We need to finish this.
Yeah. And, yeah, go ahead.
And it's also really weird for me because, you know, I overproduce all our prototypes and stuff, but that was not necessary or even really wanted in this circumstance.
Yeah, right.
Nor did we have this sort of time frame to really take it to the amount of conventions and playtesting at conventions that we would have liked to do. We did plenty of playtesting at home and what we could get done, but we go to like a couple unpubs, a slew of minis, and our local thing, and blah, 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 blah.
He says he didn't overproduce. He overproduced.
I did the first time.
It looked amazing.
I did the first time, but then after that, once we had the deadline, I was like, no way. And then once they showed us the art, I was like, there's no point. They already got this guy doing the art.
Yeah.
He still did such a good job. It was beautiful.
I still have art. I wish that got into the game. But
like, he would pull it out, and people would be like, what is that? What are you doing? Can I do that? I want to do that.
Touch that. It looks good.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was also super different, you know, for the same thing. Like, once we had given them the rules, we didn't have to do anything else. And
that felt weird.
We're super used to, like, even when our games, like, we think it's 99% done, rules-wise, we still have a whole bunch more stuff to do for it. Because if it was one of our own, we would be prepping for eventual Kickstarter or hoping a publisher, you know, notices. So in this case, we didn't have to do any of the tail end stuff. We just gave them the rules and moved on to our next thing.
Right. So last couple of questions.
Sure.
What do you guys think has been the best thing about designing games together for your relationship with each other? Aww. What do you think? What do you think?
I don't know. What's been the best thing?
For our relationship is the tough part of the question. I mean, the best thing is all the friends we've made in the community that we're in now. I mean, I guess the best thing for us is that we have a hobby. I mean, it's not really even a hobby anymore. We have a
jobby.
A jobby.
Jobby.
Don't say jobby. That means a different thing in
different
countries.
I don't know.
But you know what I mean? Like, we have a thing that we work on together. So if it wasn't that, what would it be? Watching TV? You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, we don't do that.
Honestly, if it wasn't that, it would probably be working out, which is what we really need to be doing.
What about on the flip side? What has been the hardest thing about designing together from a relationship standpoint?
Writing rules and fight.
Writing rules?
The writing rules fighting.
The fighting.
No, but I mean, like, it's funny because it brings us together in really fun ways. Like, in September, we were so dang busy, and Greater Than Games was like, yeah, we really want you guys to do an expansion. And we had literally no time. So in a 6-hour car ride, we spent like the first 2 hours of it recording audio into a phone of ideas that we had for the expansion that we like later dictated. But like, you know, we're normal human beings who live together. So, you know, sometimes we don't feel like working together and we're cranky. And Anthony's like, are you cranky or are you hungry?
It's mostly her who's cranky.
He'll be like, are you hungry? And I'll be like, no, yes, but I'm still right. But make me nachos.
Yeah, I mean, really, the worst part's just the stress of it, right? There's so much to do. And a lot of what I do, I can kind of take my own pace with it. But Nicole does the event stuff, like getting ready for cons and stuff. So, and she does, you know, 4 other jobs, so it's super stressful for her to have to put all that together.
And I communicate with like our lawyer and our accountant, like I was saying before, and I have to like maintain the receipts of all this money we spend. I have like a spreadsheet, and like it's really boring. And sometimes I'm just like, I don't want to do the boring stuff. I want to do the fun stuff. And then Anthony's like, do you want to help me do this? And then we start working on it, and I'm like, I hate everything.
So what do you guys do to spend time apart from each other? What's fun for Nicole?
What's apart from each other mean?
Right?
What does that mean?
I don't even know what that is.
I have my full-time job that I work, and I'm in a couple book clubs. I brunch with my lady friends.
Yeah.
I love brunch.
I think book clubs are your main, like, the most non-workingest sort of side thing you do.
the most working non-work that I do.
Right. So I see why you don't let him write the rules, Nicole.
I also like to play video games.
Yep.
And that's funny because a lot of the times Anthony's like, "Can we play a video game together?" And I'm like, "Go away."
This is me time.
I'm gonna play Persona 5 for 10 hours.
You could do that for 10 hours and not get very far.
I have done it for 10 hours and not gotten very far.
Right? But that's okay. It's a good ride. It's a good ride. What about you, Anthony? What do you do for the not Nicole time?
Well, I have, and hopefully more so, been doing graphic design for other games.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that she's not involved in that I do. I don't know. I play video games also.
He's also involved in role-playing games. I mean, we play role-playing games together, but he's also in some role-playing games that I'm not in.
I run our D&D game, but I can't say that as separate because she's in the game.
Okay.
But I also play a game with a friend of mine who's developing his like role-playing game that she's not in.
Yeah.
Excellent. Have you guys ever thought about doing designing a role-playing game?
I have the inkling. I have the start of an idea. Although it's very mechanics heavy, so maybe it's not the best. Maybe it should just be like a Descent style, kind of thing.
Yeah. I once outlined a Juggalo role-playing game on Twitter with Joshua A.C. Newman.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I keep forgetting you're the one that loves the Insane Clown Posse for some insane clown reason.
I love Juggalos.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. It's really just the Juggalos that you like.
I did love ICP when I was a teenager, and then like stopped listening to them, and then like when Anthony and I started dating, I was like, I'm really obsessed with Juggalos. Like we watched the documentary American Juggalo.
It's like
there's a documentary.
There's a documentary called American Juggalo.
How did I not know this?
It's amazing.
It's a really interesting culture, like anthropologically, to my mind. But I think she legitimately kind of wants to be it. Maybe more than I think is altogether.
My Blood Bowl team is their Nurgles. They're called the Nurgalos.
Yeah,
I can see that. That's awesome.
We're in a D&D game, a 5e D&D game that our friends run. They're called Nerdarchy, and they have like a YouTube channel, and we play Goblin Juggalos. They're Gobbleos.
Yep.
I know. It's really bad. It's really bad.
It's really, really, really bad, Nicole.
I really want to buy some Jinkos, and Anthony's like, I will divorce you.
I will not walk around with a Juggalo.
I think I still have some. From like the 90s, right?
I will not walk around with her as a Juggalo, but the idea of a Juggalo role-playing game, or even Juggalo board game in general, is really funny to me because I like fun themes like that, right?
Wasn't there a Juggalo game?
Yeah,
there's a Juggalo deck builder.
Into the Echo Side, which is supposedly really good.
It's not really good. It's
No. I think like Chris Rowland said it was actually good.
I've heard it was actually really good.
Yeah. So did I. I think Chris Rowland said it was really good, and he typically has decent taste in games.
Okay, sure.
I want to buy it. I just haven't yet.
But isn't it true that there is actually a Juggalo tabletop board game convention?
Yes, it's called Dark Carnival Games, and they actually have their own tabletop convention.
This is a burgeoning demographic that could be served.
I think Cardboard Fortress needs to get on that.
I mean, I have a Hatchet Man tattoo.
No, you don't.
I was gonna go like this.
You should draw one. Just draw one in Sharpie or something.
Divorce, please.
Can you imagine if I had you draw one on me in Sharpie, and that was just an elaborate prank that we played?
We would prank Sen by both showing up with full Juggalo face paint. Would be hilarious.
Oh man, that would have been funny too. And then I would have put two and two together and thought, oh yeah, she really did like the Juggalo.
No, it's not. It's not worth the possibility that someone think we were serious.
I would be okay with it.
Yeah, I don't. You know what? It's this weird subculture, and it's totally fine. Just probably not for me. I don't like their music, so I mean, there's that from the start. But.
What convention was it we were going to? That Tim Matz gave us the thing.
What thing?
The CD case.
Oh, we were going to PAX East, and it's like a 6-hour drive from here. And Tim Matz, who runs Games on Tape, was like, "Hey, I bought you this present. I bought this at a yard sale for $1. It is a container of mixed CDs by a real juggalo.
Yep.
And
guess what the first song was on Juggalo Mix 1?
I don't even know.
Hey now, it's you're an all-star.
Really?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
And like,
guess what the second song was?
Was it American Pie?
American Pie.
It was the weirdest. Yeah, that's
it was the most like
and
kilter.
We like listened to as much as we could on each CD, and I was like, can we just throw them out the window like as we finish listening to them? But jokes on my friend who drove. We left the CDs in his car.
Yeah, there is now. It's like Jumanji.
It's like Jumanji. Yeah,
it is.
It's like The Ring.
Someday his phone's gonna ring, and then he'll die 7 days later.
7 days. Now he has to listen to all the CDs.
Yeah.
In 7 days, or he will die.
You have to get somebody else to listen to them.
7 days.
You won't die. You'll turn into a juggalo. It's worse than.
For some of us, it could be worse than death.
Such a hater.
There's gonna be like this big juggalo uprising at PAX Unplugged. They're gonna come find you, Anthony, and they're gonna, I don't know, spray you with Faygo or something. Although I think that's a like a respectful thing for them. So who knows? Who knows? Yes. So goals. What are your goals for PAX Unplugged? What do you think? Goals.
Survival.
Yeah,
that's a good goal. I like it.
I'm on 3 panels, so I really hope the panels go well.
Excellent.
I'm a little nervous.
Is anybody recording the panels?
I don't know. I assume so. I think they record them at the regular PAXs, so I can't imagine why they wouldn't do it here as well.
I certainly hope so, because it's, the inaugural, so that's important.
We have 3 games whose companies are showing there at 3 different spots. So, and there's only 2 of us. So it's going to be interesting to see how we maneuver through that.
That's fun. So you'll just be running from IDW to Greater Than Games.
Yeah.
What's the other one? At level 99 or?
Level 99 will be there, yeah. And then we paid for space at the tabletop co-op, so if we want to run our like prototypes, we can go there. And
well, you got a couple days. You'll be fine.
Can we talk about what tabletop co-op is?
No, you can talk. You can tell us.
So, sorry, we should kind of promote that, or at least explain what the hell we've been talking about.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah.
We should explain this. What? Show your shirt.
I can't get up that high.
Come on.
Tabletop co-op.
Okay, there we go.
Tabletop co-op's like a group we put together for small game companies. Us and some other people, Peter
Newland.
Peter Newland
and Babe Pribanow and somebody else were the original founders.
Yeah, Bobby.
I don't think it was Bobby. Somebody else.
Okay. Anyway, so it's all small game designers who are putting out their own games that are too small to get a full-size booth on their own. We're getting booth space and splitting it between us, and then helping selling each other's games. So it's not tabletop co-op because we make cooperative games. It's tabletop co-op because we are a co-op.
Right, I see. That's a fine distinction. So there's no alpha gamers that are ruining this.
There's only who's organizing that event. That they get to be the alpha gamer in this situation.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, I guess, like indie, like the IGDA or something like that, similar except smaller.
This is like the
definitely smaller.
Like the Indie Bazaar, maybe a little bit.
Yeah, it's a little bit more like the Indie Bazaar.
Okay.
Although I think the Indie Bazaar,
they're all role players though. I think they do role playing games, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, or I guess you'd say it's a lot like the Indie Mega Booth.
Yeah, we all came from the Indie Mega Booth pretty much. The original founders, we all met because we were in the Indie Mega Booth.
Yeah.
Okay, and you just decided that, hey, we have enough to do in a booth that's off of that.
Yeah,
part of the Mega Booth.
It's basically like we're basically IMB graduates.
Right.
Yeah,
that's cool.
And it's all people who have run their Kickstarter and have lots of extra copies of their game to sell and need a place to sell it.
Right.
And show it, yeah.
And show it. So you want to be at these big conventions, especially conventions like PAX, East and West, and now South, and those booth costs are way too much for you to do it, and you're not allowed to just put product on a table and sell it. So you need to find a way to wedge, as a small company, a way to wedge your foot in the door
This
big
is a good
company.
way, like as a collective, right?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so give me, Anthony, your advice, one piece of advice to people who are or want to work with their significant others in tabletop. What is the one piece of advice you would give to them now?
I guess delineate roles. Yeah.
Why?
It's just helpful to know. I mean, you have to delineate roles and trust your partner to do their role. So I do the art, and Nicole doesn't try to do the art. So
I would never.
it's my job to do the art, and she trusts me to do the art.
Can we reverse those roles one day for just one game?
that'd be really funny.
So
there are a lot of really bad spelling for sure.
So Mosquito Madness, which is a game that we're like promoting right now.
Oh, that's right. You set our goals for the con. We also have a game that we don't have appointments that we're going to try to pitch this sell sheet to.
Okay.
So this game, I really wanted to work on it, and Anthony was like, "Okay, cool, get some art together." And I was like, "You motherfucker!" So I just went online and found some like goofy art, and then printed up cards and sleeved them. And I was like, "Boom, let's do this!" And he was like, "Did you draw these?" And I was like, "Are you out of your mind? I stole them from the internet."
They were at a level that you could have drawn it. But it was believable that you had untapped potential.
No, he is
untapped potential. Okay. And Nicole, from you, what is your piece of advice to people who would be designing tabletop games with their significant other?
I would say have patience and don't get defensive, because that's like my biggest problem with writing the rules is that I get really defensive because I'm like, no, the words have to go like this, and like it's totally unreasonable. You have to be flexible and patient, and like you have to be willing to work with each other. You know, you have to be willing to like also like know what the real battles are. Like whether or not this sentence has a serial comma is something I can compromise on. Just kidding, I'll never compromise on a serial comma. You monster.
And you should not have to. I'm with Nicole on that one. Serial commas are awesome.
If you're both engaged, then you have a real resource that a lot of other people don't have the advantage of.
You mean to each other? Engage to each other.
If you're engaged in the game, and if you want to get engaged, you can do that too. You have an advantage that a lot of people don't have, and that's you have somebody that you can have a sounding board off of.
Yeah.
You don't. How many games have me or Sen are you seen where it's somebody who's been working on a game, in their own vacuum for so long, and then they finally bring it to the light of the public, and it's like, oh, this game's been completely in your own head for far too long.
Yeah. Lots and lots.
So if you can just be able to say, hey, play this with me and look at it and see if this doesn't fall apart.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of people out there who have partners who probably would be helpful to them if they, knew how to work with them. So I think hopefully some of them are watching, and hopefully some of them will figure it out that, hey, their partners could be a great resource for them, even if they don't get design credit, but they should be a play tester, right? And I think that's also pretty cool. I know that lots of designers like Kane Klenko, I've played with games with him and his wife and his kids, and they all design. They don't design the games, but they're definitely playing with him. And
right.
I think that's really cool that a lot of people do that. So anyway, it is getting late, and you guys have to get up and unpack boxes and hats that are boxes and boxes that are actual boxes, and get it all down to the convention center and then all that stuff. So I'm so sorry that I will not see you guys yet again. But let's see. So I guess oh man, it's like next year when I'll see you next.
Yeah.
Right? Like Origins or Gen Con.
Are you going to Unpub?
It depends when it falls. It used to fall around Gathering, so it's hard to get out to both. But yeah, I should actually. I've never been to the main Unpub, which is kind of a bad thing. So I should probably go. Just like I've never really been to Metatopia. Oh, is it? Like, where is it?
It's still in Baltimore, but it's not at the convention center.
Okay, interesting. I like Baltimore. Baltimore's a fun city.
Yeah, I like Baltimore too.
Yeah. What do you think of the food in Baltimore, Anthony?
Oh, he hates it.
Really? Oh, yeah, because you're vegetarian, so like crab cakes and things like that wouldn't really.
It's
float your
really
boat.
tough.
Yep.
Yeah, I get you. All right, well, that's our next mission is to find Anthony some good food in Baltimore. So on that note, we're gonna say goodbye to the Amatos. We can actually officially call Nicole Amato, because she changed her name legally. Because apparently she talks to a lot of lawyers. That's what we've heard today. It's like, and I had to talk to the lawyer, and then I went to talk to the lawyer and the accountant, and then the lawyer, and then another lawyer. So we'll see you guys hopefully sooner than later. And for all you people at Meeple Syrup, please look out for the next things that are coming from these wonderful designers, Anthony and Nicole Amato. At some point in the future, it sounds like tank robbers will be a thing. It looks super cool.
Cross your fingers.
Yeah, right. Look out for the updates and the expansions for the awesome laser riders. And if you haven't played Resistor, you really should. It's a really neat game. And I don't know, and if there's a publisher out there that's looking for a game that Nicole did not do the art for, I hear Mosquitoes is pretty cool. All right, so we'll see you guys next week. Next week, same time, same channel, when we will be looking at More Than Meets the Eye. This is game-specific graphic design and illustration with Adrian Azell, Paul Sang, and Cecilia Hyland. So come back for that one, and we'll take a look at some of the stuff that Anthony was already talking about today on the graphic design front, but we'll get really nitty-gritty and specific. All right, so see you guys all later. Nicole, Anthony, say goodnight.
Thank you, Sen. Good night.